I've already stated this in another video, but Mahito was one of the strongest characters in Jujutsu Kaisen, in my opinion. Not just because of the fact of his abilities, but the ramifications and usage of his abilities. We don't know exactly what he could have potentially been and how strong he could have gotten if he hadn't ended up the way that he did. But in this entirely other universe where I honestly could see Mahito being such a great force for the other side, being a good character and being an actual very big help for everybody. Yo, what's up, everyone? If you guys do enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and everything else like that. But besides that, Mahito, as we've already seen with his idle transfiguration abilities, is actually something that everybody really finds an interest in. The way that he uses it and the actual way that it can be used is just something that is honestly so amazing that I always have to say something about it. I honestly have to say that if Mahito like turned good specifically, it honestly would be so amazing to see because of the fact of depending when he either turned good or if he was always good, it would just be a situation where we're honestly just seeing him as a character help everybody else in the most amazing ways possible. I've talked about this in a couple shorts. I've talked about this in another video where Mahito's abilities could honestly be considered a category of just absolutely overpowered in the JJK universe simply due to the fact of you don't know exactly what the limits are. We've already seen Mahito use his abilities on Mechamaru and take his heavenly restriction out of his body, but still give him the same abilities, just now he has a stronger body and he's able to move, which is actually so amazing and so incredible due to the fact that if he can do that to anybody else. He can do that to another person with a heavenly restriction. He can do that to somebody with even more abilities. He can do that with so many different things, and it would honestly just be an extreme godsend to anybody else to have it there. If we say that Mahito most likely turns good when he meets Junpei, that would be honestly the only place that I actively see it working out because this specifically means that Junpei obviously never dies, nothing ever happens to him on that specific end, and the story would be able to continue very much differently. Mahito already knowing the events of the Goodwill event would automatically cause the Goodwill event to have almost insane levels of active security and a lot of JJK sorcerers just being in that specific realm in that specific place. If we're going with the idea that he's not automatically tried to be killed off just due to the fact of him being a cursed spirit and just due to the fact of nobody believing him, so nobody takes him seriously. If we have Itadori believing him, Nanami believing him, and Gojo believing those two, we could actively just see the situation and scenario where it goes. Everybody believes Mahito. Mahito like found like this new way of life and is actively now trying to help the good guys, which obviously never gonna happen. Never gonna happen. Not a chance. Not a chance that it would absolutely happen ever. But if we see that that possibly could happen in any specific light, it would actively be so amazing due to the fact of one, that means nothing really goes wrong during that event and Mahito would specifically obviously out Mechamaru as the person that gave like the actual like information out or whatever, but it would really just be a very big help for everybody else. Obviously, once Yuji would come back into the further goodwill event, Mahito would most likely be right next to him just simply because of the fact that they want to have him close by and it would just be a very big help if he's there on that side. And if Mahito 1 does do that, Kenjaku really has no way to get to Mahito. And if he figures out that Mahito 1 either betrayed them or just can't find Mahito in the first place, meaning that one, now they've lost a specific member of their disaster level curses and everything else like that. So now they can't really figure out what they have to do and they have to rework their plan anyways. And so really just figuring out exactly how they want to do that, how they want to like orchestrate everything would be a very big problematic challenge, honestly. I really just see it going around the realms of one, Kenjaku's plans are kind of screwed because Mahito was obviously a focal point on that. And I can honestly see a situation where maybe we still get some of the cursed wombs to still come out if we say like Mahito like figured out like not obviously like figured out what was going on, but like if we say Mahito explains to Yuji and Gojo exactly what was going on, what the plan was, get the cursed wombs, have them work with each other. But we could really just go one of two scenarios here, which I have two scenarios, like one scenario that I would honestly really like to see what would happen, and the other scenario, which is the more likely option. The more likely option is we go through the story. Cursed wombs never exist, so there's no Chozo. There's nothing that really goes around there, so there's never a need for Megumi to go all the way back to where he was to deal with the cursed wombs there. Never a need for that to happen. Mahito being good, one, strengthens everyone around him because it strengthens everyone's bodies if they need strengthening. It strengthens everybody's like just sheer abilities. Someone like Maki now has her soul changed to the point that she either like gets to be the point where she can actively do things that she wasn't able to do, or she can just completely be way more better in a lot of different aspects. We've seen that Mahito is able to change Mechamaru's abilities to the point that one, now he can use the heavenly restriction that he already has, which gave him very high levels of cursed energy without the catastrophic backlash of him having an extremely fragile, weak body where he can't do anything. And he still had all of the things from his heavenly restriction. So if we really just run off that part and we could just run rampant with that, it's a situation where Maki gets something completely enhanced in her, whether it's Mahito somehow being able to change the soul to the point that she can now use cursed energy, but she still has access to all of her strength and everything that been able to do. She becomes an entirely different level threat. We've already seen people compare her to someone like Toji, and if Toji was alive, God's sake, if he was alive, it would be a situation where now, if he could have access to Mahito, one, it would just be an extreme massacre to anybody else if he had any chance of getting Cursed Energy. Toji was already way too strong in any format. But my honest thing is, we don't know exactly where Mahito's like powers really take to the point. Because we've heard that yes, the only thing that can damage him is an attack from the soul, but we don't know exactly what that means in terms of like some other types of people attacking him. Like if we have someone like Gojo trying to hollow purple him left, right, and center, are you telling me that that's not going to be able to do anything because it's not directly attacking the soul? I don't know, but that singular fact, one, means that Mahito is easily one of the strongest people in the entirety of JJK. And secondly, he's just so much more strong than anybody could actively possibly think that it's actively insane. And we could really just go off in the story and continue on with if Mahito's like strengthening everybody and giving them basically getting them to their fullest and capable potential. It's a situation where one, we're seeing people like Nanami, Gojo, if he can, be leveled up in some specific standpoint. Yuji getting leveled up. Anybody that is anybody getting leveled up to their best and possible capabilities. And honestly meaning that Kenjaku would really just start having to figure out what he's possibly going to try doing. Because obviously, Sakuna is not going to allow Mahito to mess with Yuji very much, or honestly at all. So that kind of just gets screwed over right there. But if we really just have anything like in season two completely going on, it would really be a weird situation because Mahito's one, not on the side that he normally is, and him being on the good side really just switches anything and everything's possibility up to a very high standard because one, Kenjaku can barely do anything now, and I honestly see Mahito most likely actively being able to improve greatly in this specific standpoint. And I honestly saw like a comment a while back of what if Yuji and Mahito like made like a binding vow, and I always liked that idea. So I'll honestly incorporate that into this by specifically saying that Yuji most likely would have to make some kind of binding vow with Mahito, stating that if Mahito betrays or harms anybody in like the JJK organization and like the Jujutsu Sorcerer organization, they would both have to die, or like they would basically like, or something would specifically would happen, and this was just like something that Yuji chose to do. So I honestly would like to see something like that happen. So I'm going to incorporate something like that just in this video alone, and you guys could tell me what you guys honestly think if I was trying to do that in another video separately. But yeah, the other situation that I was talking about earlier, the situation where the cursed wombs actively manage to come out and they actively get the idea to like, oh yeah, release some of these cursed wombs, like only three, so we still get Chozo and the other two. And that specific situation and scenario is the one that I find the most interesting simply because of the fact that if we have someone like Mahito actively still like get all the curse wounds, make them all like the same way, like all of that still happens, and obviously this most likely would have to be against the workings of the higher ups, and having Gojo or somebody specifically say, okay, we're gonna do this, but don't want to tell anybody until it's already happened, because one, it's just going to be a very big problem anyways. And Gojo most likely could be down. It's a possibility. I don't know, but we'll just say that he is. And if we say that he is, Chozo and everyone, all the other two are still completely like made. As soon as Yuji's in their vicinity, they would most likely, like Chozo would most likely realize, oh yeah, he's one of us. He's a brother, and that would one automatically stop any specific problems there. Specifically, just going around the fact of one, now there's no really need for them to actually have any problems with them, and they could honestly probably turn good too. So there's a good possibility that one, Mahito would just most likely rearrange their souls and their bodies to the point that they actually look more humanoid, so they could pass for like walking around. Because he most likely can, if he can change them into monsters, he can change them into normal looking people. That's fair. But now we have three other people that can help out, and then that obviously eventually gets to the point where the higher ups are finding a little like, okay, this is a little too much. So they would most likely at this point have already tried sending Yuta out there, but Yuta's not going to be able to do, not going to try doing anything. And even if he did, it would just be the same situation where Yuta sent, and because most likely Gojo's, there's zero possibility that Gojo gets sealed. Literally zero possibility that Gojo ever gets sealed. So Kenjaku's plans are screwed. Kenjaku can't do anything, and there's not a possibility that he will be able to do anything. All events that happened past season one would most likely take a completely different detour, simply due to the fact that Mahito's just screwing up everything in Kenjaku's plans, and he wouldn't even be able to really get anywhere near Mahito enough to like try taking Mahito's soul and like just doing the same thing. Because even if he tried one, everybody's already been leveled up to the extent that they're not able to like lose the same way that they were. And they still have a lot of sorcerers, because most of the events I said wouldn't be happening. A lot of the people would actually be able to be perfectly fine in the specific standpoints and the specific places that they are. So they're not even bothered. They're not worried. They're not stressing on anything. They're perfectly fine. But please tell me, what do you guys think would happen if Mahito turned good? I know, please, obviously, we know not gonna happen. Mahito's way too sadistical, way too evil for anything like that to ever possibly happen. But I always like that idea. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.